Hi, and a great big warm welcome to episode 10, season 2 of the Ask Zofie podcast. If you listened to last week's episode, you will know that that was a one off where I was doing all the swearing. I was going to say swearing, but it was all the swearing. If you know me, you'll know that I actually really love swearing, but I don't swear on this podcast. Decided not to for whatever reason. But last week was great because I just got it all out. It was really fun. I also don't swear on Instagram. I do in masterclasses and one-to-ones and real life, but I've just chosen not to for whatever reason. Anyway, it's kind of funny. So I'm back to non-swearing me this week, which you might be relieved about. You might be disappointed. I don't know. Let me know. So I'm answering today a question about money blocks, manifesting money, something that someone asked me on one of my, in a comment, one of my Instagram posts. So it's probably going to be a pretty snappy episode today. I say that, but who knows? Because I could just digress and go off piste a gazillion times and be here 40 minutes later. We will see. I did a live on Instagram on, I don't know, a couple of days ago. Saturday, I think it was, and I was wearing just like a vest top, and one of my lovely followers said to me, "Aren't you freezing?" I was like, "Actually, no, I'm really hot." And I just posted something on Instagram earlier of me in a jumper, and she's like, "Yes, I'm glad to see you've got a jumper on." I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm really hot and I've got another jumper on." So if Sarah is watching or listening, then you can be happy. And I'm wearing actually a woolly jumper now. Hopefully that's more appropriate for you. Although yesterday it was like 18, 19 degrees, I think, and Saturday, amazing for November. Really happy about that. Okay, I'm going to share from Love Notes before I share my silly behind the scenes and then get into today's topic. Here's a cat coming in. I've got Susie's next to me. Laffy's just come in, but I don't think either of them necessarily want to appear, but they might do. Who knows? Okay, let's see what comes up for you from Love Notes. Bear with me a moment while I pick a page. Okay, I'm going to read both pages because they're quite short quotes. The first one, which is page 130, is underneath my love, you find yearning. Within my peace lies the deepest desire. It's interesting because this follows on from what I shared last week, actually, which was speaking to for me, the essence, part of the essence of the divine, of God, of the universe, of your higher self, is this deep desire to be loved. And that if that love wasn't as pure as it is, then there would be this yearning in it, but it chooses to not sit in that yearning. It chooses to be in a place of peace and desire and love versus that yearning. I speak to this when I talk to parents and say, you can either be loving your child or worrying about them. You can't be in both states at the same time. And your love rather can turn into worry, but it's not the same thing. And for me, this is like the divine loves you so much that it chooses not to sit in that yearning, that it transmutes and rises above that yearning to be in that place of peace, which comes from deep, deep desire to be realized and recognized by you and connected with you. For me, that's what created everything. The universe was this deep, deep desire by the one source energy to experience itself, because when you are in pure oneness, you can't experience yourself because you're everything. Anyway, that's deep. So the second page says, it's really simple: come back to me, fall into me. And of course, if you know Love Notes, you'll know that the whole text is really, I wrote it and it came from this place, the stuff that came through to me, to be deeply soothing, reassuring, comforting. And it all speaks to the essence of the love of the divine, which is desiring to love you, to give to you, to support you, to resource you at all times. And actually, I just want to say that the most recent meditation I made for membership, which I always forget the name, is, I think it's Safe, but that might be wrong. How can I forget my own meditation name? Safe, Resourced, Resourceful. And I wrote this with myself in mind. I wrote this with you in mind, but really to tap you into that feeling of being safe in your body, in your life, on this planet, something that I didn't have for a long time, and I'm still not completely there, which is one of the reasons, like I say, I wrote it, but also feel resourced. Like a tree is resourced, or a plant from its roots from the earth, to feel that you are resourced in that same way in this life by God's love, or the love of the divine, however you want to think of it. And also that you are resourceful because you are that love. So all this taps into that same thing, but that real feeling of safety. If you are not in my membership, I'll put a link in the show notes to sign up and access that. And more than, I don't know, there might even be pushing 60 now, more than 50 beautiful meditations in there that will really, really help you to feel calmer, to sleep better, to manage anxiety and so on in your life. I'd love you to check them out if you haven't already. Anyway, okay. Oh yeah, behind the scenes, before I talk about what I'm going to talk about, which is money blocks and what we can do about them. My behind the scenes, which I don't know if this is going to translate as I'm sharing it, but I'm sharing it anyway. I've got a real vibe of just get out there, just do stuff, say stuff, mess up. If it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. So this is along those lines, and we will see. But last Saturday, I went out for dinner with my daughter. We went to Primark. Oh, the city centre on a Saturday in Primark. That was something to contend with. And also a couple of other shops, and then we went to one of my favorite Italians to have one of my favorite things to eat, which is arancini, and then also melanzana, which is one of my other favorite things to eat, and tiramisu when we got home. Anyway, I'm making myself hungry. It's not the point, but we were sat at the counter in this busy, sort of bustling restaurant on the Saturday, and I was really hungry. I'd been saving myself for my food, and if you know me, you know I love food, and I really love food. So we hadn't had our starters yet, and I could spy these like 4 plates, I think, of arancini, which is what Yara and I ordered to share for starters. And I was like looking lovingly at these arancini in a way that I remember when I got a piercing done once, the guy said to me, you want someone in your life who looks at you like pizza. And I was like, yes, that's what I want. I want someone who looks at me like I'm pizza. And I was looking at that arancini in a way that, trust me, anybody wants to be looked at by their lover. That was me staring at those lovely balls of goodness. Just remembered something funny that I'll share in a minute. Anyway, I was staring across at them like longingly and lovingly, and like, oh please, like, come to mama. I hope out of those 4 plates, 1 plate is our arancini. And Yara said to me, I wonder what you were looking at, and I've just figured it out, mummy. You were looking at those arancini, weren't you? Because she must have saw me and thought, why is she looking over there? What? So I've got something stuck on my lip. What's she looking at? And she was laughing her head off because she obviously, noticed me staring and was like, what's she looking at? And then realized I was staring at the food. I was willing the food to come over to us. So one of the things about sitting at the counter is you can see what's there, and you're like, is that mine? Is that my pizza? Anyway, it might be a you had to be there moment, like I said, but I'm sharing it anyway. The other thing that came to mind as I was talking about those lovely balls of goodness was, I was at a workshop once at Soul Circus. I was running a workshop, and there was a bunch of people watching, listening, blah, blah, blah. And I was talking about spiritual balls for whatever reason. It made sense at the time. I hope it made sense at the time. Maybe not. Anyway, and for some reason, I just kept staring at this one poor guy, and I was like, I don't know why I'm staring at you, as I'm talking about big spiritual balls. And I think he's probably still scarred from that. But yeah, spiritual balls is something I've talked about quite a few times. I don't know about you. I've got massive spiritual balls, and I think that's a good thing. So, shall I move on? I feel like I should move on from talking about balls. No swearing this week, just balls. Anyway, right. Let's move on to money blocks. The question that I was asked on Instagram that I'm answering now on this podcast is, what are the biggest money blocks that I think people have? And what I want to say is, I've said this before, but we have so many messed up beliefs around the issue of money, wealth, abundance, cash, finances, and so on and so forth. And as you'll know, if you follow along with me, if you've been following me, This is something, my money mindset is something that I'm still working through at the moment. So it's something that I'm keenly interested in helping myself with. And of course, helping you. And the thing that I realized a little while ago as I'm working through this is that ego has done a really great job, has done a number on us. Because here's the deal, right? We live in this world where, of course, money doesn't make you happy. This is truth. But at the same time, it can make things a hell of a lot easier. And it is simply the means that we use to purchase stuff. So whether you're buying things or you're traveling or an experience or you're gifting someone, we typically require money to do this. And so it has an enormous impact on our lives. And so what ego has done, which is really freaking clever, and ego is clever, it's not wise, but it's clever, is it's got hold of this issue of money and it's messed it all up for us. And one of the things that it's told us is that, for example, money is the root of all evil. So if you want money, you're going to be left with this great big fat dollop of cognitive dissonance. And all that cognitive dissonance means, if you don't know, it's a therapeutic term, is you've got this conflict on the inside. I want this thing that I shouldn't want. I want this thing, but I don't think it's going to bring good things with it. So if you believe, like so many of us have been programmed to believe, that money is the root of all evil, but you want money or you want the stuff that money brings, can you see the quagmire that this puts you in? And so my perspective is that ego's got hold of this and done a number on it, and done a number on you, my friend. And I want you to start to flip this, to reframe it, okay? And see that this is just a perspective that we have been handed. Like Ed Milet says, most of the things that we know have been caught, not taught. In other words, other people's unhelpful perspectives and beliefs rub off on us, and then we just have them as our own beliefs. And because beliefs act as self-fulfilling prophecies, we then create our reality based on these wonky, unhelpful beliefs. So I want you or I suggest that you start to think, what if money isn't the root of all evil? What if it's just this neutral resource, like a kitchen knife? You can use a kitchen knife to do a helpful thing, a kind thing, like cook someone a meal, or you can use it to do damage. It's not the knife that's the issue, it's what you're doing with it. And of course, this is true of money. You can use money to buy arms. You can use money to give to charity. You can use money to purchase loads of drugs. You can use money to be involved in, I don't know, trafficking of people, or you can use money to give to people in need, to support your loved ones. It's the same thing, and it's being used in totally different manners depending on your intention, whose hands it's in, and so on and so forth. So I would suggest a reframe on that. I'm not sure, but one, just starting to see it as neutral, or in fact, I'm going to come to this in a minute. So just hold that thought in terms of the reframe. So the other thing that we've been taught, so many of us, is that rich people are bad. Rich people are greedy, rich people are spoiled, rich people are lazy, rich people are selfish. Or you see someone rich and think, well, I wonder what they did to make their money, or did they just inherit it? And so there's this negative, this tainted, this perspective that's tainted with negativity relative often to wealthy people. So again, a great big dollop of cognitive dissonance. I want what they've got, but I don't want to be who they are. Or you're slating people that are wealthy. So you're asking for it on the one hand, but pushing it away, you're repelling it at the same time. So can you see how this isn't going to work? Because you can't attract into your life or become something that you don't believe that you don't believe is a positive thing, or that you don't believe you want to become. So the thing that I'm just looking at my notes, and I have no idea what one piece of writing, I can't understand my writing. But the thing that came through for me, apart from the realization that ego's got hold of this and is using it in this massive way to thwart you, is also to see, the reframe for me was to see that money is simply the love of the divine made manifest. And so the divine, God, source, etc., however you like to think of it, underpins the physical, but it flows through the physical. And we're in this physical experience. We're spiritual beings having a physical experience. And so in this physical world, God is going to make use of the physical stuff, and money is a big one. So when you shift it from money is the root of all evil to instead, money is just one of the means that God or the divine uses to love me, to resource me, to care for me, to tend to me. Like, which one feels better? You can be led by what feels good. It's like Abraham Hicks say, it's good to feel good. And those things that feel good to you, that's your guidance, that it is good for you. And the other thing is, of course, it makes sense that when money is in the hand of quote unquote good people, they're going to do good stuff with it. Like, if you feel in your heart that you're a good person and you already are generous and giving, imagine what you do with more. People say, and it's true, that money and fame are great highlighters. And so they don't make you something you're not, but they highlight who, they exaggerate, they magnify who you already are, all of the positives and the flaws and so on and so forth. So if you are already generous and you have more money, you're going to have the potential to be more generous. If you're already someone who likes to give and to share and who's kind, it's just going to amplify that. So doesn't this feel divinely ordered? Like, when I think about what God is to me, what that divine energy is to me, it is love. It is unconditional love. And it wants for me what I want for me and then some. It wants for you what you want and then some. And doesn't it therefore make logical sense that that energy would want you to be resourced with abundance, with lots of other things? And it's not the be all and end all, but it definitely gives you access to so many things. It's just the way that the world is. So ego will tell you, you need this thing, but if you have it, you're a bad person, and so on and so forth. It just as ever does a number on you, whereas your soul will say, you don't need money to be happy, which is true, but it can support you on that journey, and it is meant to. It is divinely ordered that if you desire certain things, that they should be yours. That if you desire a life that requires abundance, that should be yours. So my suggestion is to reframe this, to flip it on its head, to start to perceive it as simply a means of love, of the love of the divine showing up in your life to support you and supporting you. And the more you have, the more good that you have the capacity to do. And it definitely does not make you evil. And it is definitely not evil. Okay, I've just, as I was talking, remembered that the meditation, which I think I mentioned at the start of this podcast, but I can't remember because I recorded one earlier, the most recent one, is actually just taken over as my favorite from the Magnetized Money one, which I made 2 or 3 months back. That will really support you, that meditation, and the blog post that I wrote in the members area. And there's also a masterclass that I did, the one before last, on, actually no, I've done 2 by the time I've sent this podcast out. So a few masterclasses ago, where I talked about money. If you join my membership or you're in it, I will send you the replay of that as a bonus. That's going to help you massively. There are also a couple of previous episodes I've done on this. I'll put a note of all of those resources in the show notes. This is something that you want to manifest, that you want to go beyond the blocks that you have relative to. I am here to shepherd you, to be your bridge, to guide you. So lean on me. I will share everything that I know and everything that I'm doing to help you. On that note, I really hope that this has helped you, and thank you for tuning in, whether you're watching or whether you were listening. Have an awesome rest of your day. Oh, and by the way, if anything I've said is helpful, or you know anybody it would help and you'd be happy to share, please would you consider popping a post on social media and tagging me in that, because it really helps me to grow and to reach more people, which, if you know me, you will know I am uber passionate about. Okay, thanks. That's it from me. I'll be back next week. Have an awesome rest of your day.